Welcome to Adiuvaret Kids learning session for parents and teachers. And we welcome you to another learning session. And in this learning session, we'll continue with the cognitive development series of Adiuvaret Kids. And today is the sixth in the series. And today we'll be discussing a very important areas for cognitive skill development. And this particular session on cognitive skill development has been practiced very widely among all the preschools. And this is regarding the learning of numbers and its association with cognitive skill development. And Adiuvaret Kids has developed a very easy technique that's called RISE. And this RISE technique will give you a fair understanding that what we need to know as parents and teachers, that the children at different age, what kind of skills must learn while learning the numbers to improve their cognitive skill at very sharply. So we'll go ahead with this, and as we have been talking very often, cognitive skill helps in reasoning. Cognitive skill helps in improving the logical thinking of the child. And when the logical thinking of the child increases, then the problem solving skill of the child also increases to a greater extent. Now, today what we are just going to do, today will be a very short and sweet session, and this will be helping in a big way to teachers in the pre-primary schools to make a very systematic approach while they teach numbers and try to improve the cognitive skill. And today the teaching outcome, basically when we do this teaching of numbers, the outcome we are just looking to achieve from this short session of Adiuvaret Kids today is that association of numbers with cognitive skill development. And the objective is, in this session we'll be defining a very easy technique, and this technique will help teachers and parents to understand and to remember the teaching of number skills and how it's associated with the cognitive skills of the child, so that we are very sure when we are taking up something and when we are bringing numbers, then we will be concentrating more on those areas in order to improve the skills. Now, as I said, Adi has developed a very easy technique because Adi believes in one thing, that if things will be simple, it will automatically become effective. So ID believes in assisting the stakeholders in the pre-primary segment by making the things simple and effective. And the technique that Adiuvaret Kids has defined is called RISE. And let's see what RISE is. First, when we talk of number skills and when we bring these numbers for the understanding of the children, first and foremost thing is the recitation. R stands for recitation, and when we bring numbers to the child, then we expect the child must recite the numbers in a sequence that is expected. So R stands for recitation. And second skill that we try to inculcate in the child is the identification. When numbers are recited, then the child must identify a particular number when it is being asked to identify, or the child must identify the number itself. We'll discuss all these things in length while we'll go further. Then C is counting and writing. When the recitation and identification is well developed, Then it comes to counting of objects and writing the numbers. So this is another skill we must bring into the table for the child to understand very, very well, because if child understand this quite well, then going further and the problem solving capabilities will also improve quite well. So this C stands for counting and writing. And finally, E stands for exploration. We know that one of the very, very important aspect of Probel method in the kindergarten is making the child to do as much as possible the exploration. When child looks forward to find various ways to look a particular thing, that is called exploration. And when the numbers are recited, when the numbers are identified, when the number of objects are counted, and a particular number is written, then it leads to a different kind of exploration. The child look forward to explore various things by putting numbers into different perspective. So if we keep these four things in mind as preschool teachers or parents to guide our children to improve this cognitive skill through numbers, then it is very, very important to keep these four things in mind. Number one is recitation. Number two is identification. Number three is counting and writing. And number four is exploration. It's very easy to remember. Just remember, I must follow RISE when I am teaching numbers to my child for improving the cognitive skill. Very clear, very easy. Then we'll go further to the play group. And let's see in the playgroup how RISE works and what are the various aspects we need to keep it in mind when we are dealing with a child in the age group of 2 years to 3 years, and we are bringing numbers and making the child to understand numbers and improve the cognitive skill. Now, first thing is that when reciting comes to the picture, then we must keep it in mind the child must recite numbers up to 10. Then if the child is reciting, because at that time a technique we called rote reciting or rote counting. Rote counting is that without understanding the actual number of objects, the child start reciting the numbers because it has been told to the child to tell these numbers. Meaning when we say 1, 2, 3, 4, in that age, child doesn't have that understanding that each number, each object, so there is an object corresponding to a number, that understanding doesn't come. So therefore, if the child is reciting by simply listening these words like 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, then that is well enough for the child in the playgroup. And as far as the identification is concerned, it is not at all expected from a child in the playgroup or in the age group of 2 years to 3 years that the child must identify something. It is not at all expected. But if the child is identifying a number, then it's well and good. Then child's cognitive skill development is expected to be much better. But it is not expected that we need to teach our child to identify a particular number. Then coming to counting and writing, in this age group, we expect that the child must count objects up to three. Three objects the child must able to count. Any three objects. If you are showing books, up to three books, child can say 1, 2, 3. Then this counting skill should come and we should bring when the child start reciting and spend some time into various play objects. And writing is not at all expected, but as far as the counting is concerned, we must spend time with our child in this particular age, that the child must able to count up to three objects. Now, when the counting of three objects are practiced, then it comes to exploring things, and the child will start exploring what are the objects which has got these up to 3 sub-objects. For example, here we may spend time with our child to ask what are the areas where you can find 2 objects. For example, we can see we have 2 ears, that means up to 2 numbers. The child will be identifying, okay, 1 ear here, 1 ear there. We have got 2 eyes, so this is 2 number. We have got 1 nose, so that is 1 in number. If we just look a ceiling fan, then child can also see that count the blades of the fan, it could be 3. So similar kind of exploration child will start picking up. If the child is not picking up, or if child is not exploring those objects which has got up to 3 sub objects, then there is a little bit of uh, delay in understanding these numbers, and so also the cognitive skill. So as a teacher or as a parent, it must be our role to identify some of the objects are in our surrounding where child can explore things, and we can help the child to identify some of the objects which are got up to 3 sub objects. So the counting starts there, and the number skills and the cognitive skill also improves. So this is what we need to remember for a child in 2 to 3 years. And one thing I just recall here, so these things we have taken as per the international standard. So these are the very basic minimum things we must ensure the child gets while child is dealing with numbers and improvement of cognitive skill. If the child is doing much better than this, then we should be happy, and we should ensure that our child is doing definitely better. Okay, we'll just move to nursery group. Nursery children, they are the children between 3 years to 4 years. And we have also defined the rise for these children in the nursery class. And let's see that what nursery children, they must have this rise. Reciting, as far as reciting is concerned, the children in the nursery group must recite numbers quite well, up to 20, without any fumbling. So when we increase the numbers from 10 to 20, we may come across, we may experience the child is fumbling. The child may miss out some numbers in between and move to other things, because child is not developed that capability to connect the counting of objects with the number sequencing. Because of that, there may be chance child will be missing out some numbers while reciting. But if we keep working with the child, then the child will be quite comfortable in reciting numbers from 1 to 20. As I said, this is the very basic minimum requirement of reciting numbers up to 20. But if the child is picking up things quite faster, then we can keep increasing the numbers as far as the reciting is concerned. But one thing we all must keep it in mind, that the child must recite numbers in sequence with very, very clear pronunciation, and without missing a single number. Then as far as the identification is concerned, the child must identify numbers up to 10. So how do we do this identification? Then in a piece of paper, we can write any random numbers and let the child identify what the number is. Then in this case, what happens, the child, when speaks out a number, then the child also looking where the number, if the written part of the number is matching to the sound of the number. So if that matches, then child is able to pick up that cognitive skill, and all the coordination start picking up in the mind of the child. So if we just give a bunch of numbers, and we can also ask the child to pick up where is 7, where is 6, where is 9, where is 3. Similar kind of exercise you can do with the child as far as the identification number is concerned. So here, the basic requirement is that child must identify number in a written or in a bunch of numbers up to 10. Any number that single digit numbers can be identified quite well. Then coming to the counting and writing of numbers, what we expect to get the things done with a child in the nursery class, the child must able to count objects up to 10. If we give any objects up to 10 numbers, the child must able to count objects one by one without any problem. For example, if we give a bunch of vegetables, or we give a bunch of potatoes or bunch of tomatoes, and you can say that just count seven potatoes, then the child should able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and pick up those objects up to 10 numbers. Sometimes we take things for granted, but as long as we keep practicing those things with our children, then the child's cognitive skill development gets better and better, and child's problem solving skill will also improve, and also child's mathematical skill or number skill will definitely be better off. And here we gradually start writing practices of the number. And here what we do, up to 10, we provide the numbers with a dotted line. And here we expect child should do start the writing practice by tracing these numbers. And child should able to speak while writing this or while tracing these numbers, so that child keeps all the three things in mind when child is speaking, writing, and identifying that particular number. So while doing this exercise and while doing this revision with the child, then the whole concept becomes very clear in the mind of the child. So that's what we need to know. Again, I reiterate, these are the minimum things I'm just bringing for your information. And if the child does better than this, if the child writes better numbers than 10, if the child identifies or child counts more than 10 numbers or 10 objects, then it is well and good. But one thing we must do with the child, that child must able to count up to 10 objects. Then as far as the exploration of these things are concerned, here we expect child should explore the meaning of 1 and 2. Here meaning of 1 and 2 meaning is that when we provide a set of pictures with different numbers in it, child must able to identify which are the objects which has got 1 in number and which are the objects it has got 2 objects. So that meaning of 1 and 2 should be very clear by this time when child is starting looking to the numbers and looking to the number of objects in a different set of numbers. Child should explore those things. And for this purpose, Adiuvaret Kids activity sheets has got enough number of activities to understand the meaning of 1 and 2. So you can also have a look to Adiuvaret Kids preschool learning app. Under its section activities and exercises, it has got huge number of activities for this purpose. And as far as exploring is concerned, in the age group of 3 years to 4 years, when the children are in nursery class, then they must pick up objects up to 10 from a stack of objects. So here what we can do, for a simple activity, we can have a stack of ice cream sticks or a stack of matchsticks or stack of any other objects, and we can keep asking that just pick up 7 ice cream sticks from this stack. So if the child is able to pick up counting 7 sticks and get it separated, that means child exploration capabilities are much better. And this exploration will happen if this RIC is done quite well while we teach the child. If we are not spending enough time for recitation, for identification, and for counting, then this exploration things will not happen. So exploration, which is a kind of self-motivated action of the child, this will be developed consciously if we can bring this RIC in a very, very structured way. We cannot expect a child should improve the exploratory skill just by like that. So we have to prepare the child, and that's where the preschool education becomes so important. That's why the parents spending time with the child becomes so important. So this is all about rise for a child in the nursery class. I request all the parents and teachers to spend time on this and make sure lot of RIC is happening, so child is automatically becoming quite explorating in practice, so that the cognitive skill will be optimal in the child. And children basically in the LKG class are in the age group of 4 years to 5 years. And when the child is in the age group of 4 and 5 years, we'll have to define the rise very, very specifically. And if we understand what the rise for the child in the age group of 4 and 5 years, it becomes easy for the teachers and parents to deal with various number skill among the children. Number one, as far as recitation is concerned, we expect and we give the total number of total numbers up to 100 when the child recites the number. So by this time, child is quite comfortable in understanding the basic number skills. So when the child shifts from 20 to 100, it becomes easy for the child. So we'll be spending time with the child to help the child reciting numbers without much fumbling from 1 to 100. And that should not be any difficulty for the teachers to get it done from a child in lower kindergarten class. Then as far as the identification is concerned, then also we expect child should identify any number from 1 to 100 without any difficulty. And this exercise, you can say, we can write a number in a piece of paper and ask the child to identify which number is that. So in a piece of paper, this exercise you can do with any number of children in a class, or we can do that one to one. So if you remember the star module of prime methodology of Adiuvaret kids, you can very well understand when we are dealing with one to one and one to many. But as far as the identification of number is concerned, and this particular exercise, when we are just writing a particular number in a very, very big bold letter, or we can use the whiteboard and write the number, or in a piece of paper, write a particular number and ask the child, what is this number? If the child is able to identify this, then the child's cognitive skill is quite well. This is one exercise. Another exercise can be done in a piece of paper. We can just write multiple numbers. It could be 8 to 10 numbers. And from this number, we can ask the child, just tell me or identify where is 59, where is 34. From this bunch of numbers, we can pick up a particular number and ask the child to identify it. So this exercise is really, really very good. And whenever we have time at home, then we can play this particular game. We need only a piece of paper and a pencil or a crayon just to write the number and ask the child to identify this number. Same thing can happen other way around also. We can ask the child to write a number and ask us what is this. So this can be a fantastic play which can also improve the number skill as well as leads to better cognitive skills. Now, as far as C is concerned, the counting and writing is concerned, here a couple of things we must keep it in mind. Number one is that child must count objects up to 50. So if we give a set of objects and ask the child to count, child must able to count any number of objects up to 50. Sometimes child, they miss out if we just increase the number of objects in a given picture. After certain number, child gets fumbled in the beginning. But once these exercises and these activities are practiced again and again, child will develop those synapses and child will be enjoying this while doing these counting exercises. And writing these numbers can also be done up to 50 by tracing the numbers on a dotted line and without pressing it. So when the child's writing skill starts in a very, very structured and very systematic way from the beginning of LKG class, then by the time we start increasing the writing practices from 1 to 10, 10 to 20 to 30, 30 to 40, so by this time child will be improving the writing skill. And we start with tracing of the numbers and later let the child write without tracing it. So in LKG class, we give lot of time, efforts, and importance for improving the writing skill, both in number as well as in other language. So this should be very seriously taken care of, because sometimes we do not provide or do not give a lot of importance on writing part, but here something has to be given importance so that child coordination with speaking and writing that particular number matches quite well. Then one more thing under counting and writing, we should keep it in mind for the children in LKG, that when the child is counting set of objects, after counting, child must write that respective number of objects in front of that. Or if the child is counting any number of objects and after finishing that total number of objects in that picture, child should able to write that corresponding number either below the picture or any space given near the object. So that is very important. And sometimes we do not give lot of exercises which has got both counting and writing simultaneously. So we must give that exercise to our children so that they will be developing both these things uh, in a sequential order. So that is the C part for a child in LKG. Now coming to exploration, when this RIC are getting developed quite well, reciting of numbers, identification, and counting and writing, exploration starts. Now, in the exploration, the child automatically develops those things when these RIC are quite nicely done. But as teachers and parents, we must bring those things for the practice of our child so that child's exploration skill will further be improved. Number one is child should explore more and less. When the child starts counting numbers up to 50, then child must know which has got more number of objects, which has got less number of objects. So this is a exploration skill. Child must look, by the time child is looking to two sets of pictures with different number of objects in both the set, then child will start looking to that, the system, the imagination, the mind functioning will start automatically, which set of pictures has got more number of objects and which set of pictures has got less number of objects. So that exploration, and to do this exploration mechanism or exercise, we have got lots of activities in place. Parents, they can do their activities, teachers can do their activities. If you look time methodology of Adiuvaret kids, under play, you can have that technique how to create those kind of play and activities for a functional improvement of a particular skill. Then second exploration comes is that number sequencing. When the child is able to count objects up to 50, identifying a number up to 100, reciting number up to 100, then sequencing becomes very important. If we are saying that, okay, in a sequence of 51, 52, 53, then next number child must able to pick up quite well. So that sequencing skill is a part of exploration skill. Child must explore what are the next number. Automatically, that if that exploration skill is not built in the child, and if the reciting, identifying, and counting is not done quite well, then this exploration is very difficult to come. And if the exploration skills are not developed in that particular age, then the mathematical skill and the cognitive skill will be little tough to develop in the future when the child will be looking mathematics or problem solving skills. Then writing of random numbers when asked for. So here what we need to do exploration is that when we ask a particular number to be written, because by this time child is doing lot of writing, and if we say that please write 23, child must able to write 23. Because what happens when the recitation and identification is concerned, child is just looking on a flow, because sometimes child is not able to identify when the child is just reciting numbers. And most of the cases we have seen in many schools, people are only giving lot of importance on the recitation part. Rest of the I, C, E are completely forgotten. And if I, C, E are completely forgotten, then we are not doing our job of a preschool expert while we are building a skill of a child. Therefore, what you need to do is that if the child will be asked to write a particular number, if child's skill is very well, child will be writing that number without much difficulty. You can do this exercise at any point of time, and you'll be surprised to know that many children, they will be having difficulty in writing that particular number even in LKG class. If you don't believe this, just go ahead and do this exercise with any children, will find the result. So we have to do this and make sure child's understanding to different numbers at this particular age should be very, very clear, at least for the number up to 50. Then what you need to do is that next exploration technique is that picking up objects up to 50 from a stack of objects. Same exercise you can do here. We can have a stack of ice cream sticks or matchsticks, and we can ask any random number to just count and pick up those number of ice cream sticks or matchsticks from that stack of objects, and that will give lot of exploration mechanism or uh, variety to the child when child will be sitting with that stack of objects and start counting and getting this desired number of objects separated from that stack. And this is a very, very good exploration skill, and once that is done with the child, then child will automatically be improving in the cognitive skill without much difficulty. Then addition through pictures is another explorative method that we bring in LKG class, and that is there. What we need to do is that we can pick up some objects. If it is 3 objects, we add another 2 objects. Together, it becomes 5 objects. So this is the introduction of addition in this class of LKG. And when we bring this particular addition through pictures, then we are allowing the child to explore things. When three in one set of picture, another set of picture, 2 objects, when we set these two combined together, how much it would be, then child will be counting these objects. So when the child is counting both the objects and getting a new number of objects, then automatically the addition skill in the mind of child is getting developed, and child will automatically try to explore things even if we don't make the child to do all these activities. What we are just doing, we are simply improving the exploration skill in the child's mind. So that's what is very, very important from a teacher and parent's perspective when we are teaching those skills to our child. Please remember this rise for this LKG class, what we need to do in terms of reciting, identification, counting and writing, and exploring of numbers into various problem solving activities. So that is all about the rise for our LKG children. We'll move to UKG class, and children in UKG are basically in the age group of 5 years to 6 years. And when the child spends a lot of time in playgroup, nursery, LKG, and with various number uh, in terms of recitation, identification, and counting and exploring, then by this time child is reaching to the UKG class, then the number skill, cognitive skill comes to a very, very strong position. And here child will be doing things in a much better and easy way. Although things are quite complicated, we are bringing much complicated things, but if the child has done things quite well in the previous classes, things will be much easier here. So here we'll just check what are the rise for UKG class, and based on that, we'll be spending time and we'll be preparing activities, and so also we'll make various exploration games for a child in UKG class. Number one, when recitation is concerned, we increase the number from 100 in LKG to 200 for a child in the UKG class. So child must able to recite without any difficulty number from 1 to 200 without any problem. So if the child is having problem in order to fumbling in picking up a number, or missing out some numbers in between, that means we have to rework with the child to ensure child's recitation skill is absolutely good by the time child is in UKG and managing the numbers up to 200. Similarly, when identification is concerned, child must identify any number from 1 to 200 without any difficulty during the UKG class. So here we can follow the similar kind of exercises. We can either ask the child to pick up or to identify a number when we write that number in a piece of paper. For example, if I'm writing 121, 121, child should able to tell 121. If I pick up a piece of paper and write a bunch of numbers. It could be one digit number, two digit number, or three digit number. So in that, from this bunch of numbers, I can pick up any number and ask the child, just show me where the number is. So these are very two simple but very, very effective exercises that we must do with our child at any point of time. So that gives a lot of an ample number of chance for the child to do this exercise and getting this number skills improved. So these two things we must do at any point of time when the child is there, and we should not just miss out those exercises and activities when the child is actually picking up these numbers in the UKG class. Then as far as the counting and writing things are concerned, here we must keep it in mind. The counting of objects up to 100, child must count any number of objects without any difficulty up to 100. For example, if you are just giving a stack of ice cream sticks of up to 75, child must able to count 1, 2, each picking up one stick and the corresponding number without any difficulty. And sometimes it is very easy for the parents and teachers to realize and imagine, but when actually we get these things done with our child, then we realize sometimes the child also fumbles. If we do not get these things done in our previous class quite well, then it will be very, very difficult for the child to do even counting objects up to 50 in also UKG class. So we should be very, very careful from the teacher's perspective that we should not miss out those things, either R or I or C, for any child in any class. Then also the writing is getting further improved, writing also getting complicated. Now we are also introducing the writing of numbers in words. For example, the up to LKG, we are just asking the child to write numbers in numbers only. Now here in UKG, we are also introducing writing the number in words. That should also be up to 100. So writing is becoming lot of practice is required for writing, and writing becomes a much more engaging exercise or engaging time for the child. So it requires a lot of time to sit and write these numbers, and number of revisions, more number of revisions, better is the skill. Then counting by twos and threes are also getting introduced in the UKG class. That means when the child is sequencing the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 1 number, then we introduce the counting by twos like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, like this. The child must able to understand that by missing one number, then counting by twos. So that also is getting introduced when the child understands in the nursery the meaning of one and two. So when the meaning of one and two is understood quite well, that counting numbers by ones and by twos becomes easy. So that skill also we need to introduce and make sure we spend a lot of time with the child. Counting by twos is also taken care of. So also counting by threes. When we ask the child to counting by numbers by threes, it could be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Like this child must able to count while looking to a set of numbers in a given piece of paper. So this counting also has to be brought very, very carefully and very, very systematically. Otherwise, the cognitive skill will be widely confused. And the moment it is confused, then child speaking of numbers and interest for numbers will be lost. So humble request to teachers and parents to be very, very careful in this while bringing this number and skilling of the child in numbers, and so also on the cognitive skill. And here also counting and writing should happen simultaneously. If we give a set of numbers, let's say 75 apples in a set of pictures, child should count 1 to 73, and after that child must understand, okay, this is 73, child should be able to write that 73. So that's what we need to do in terms of C, or counting and writing part. Now comes to the exploration. When the child is very comfortable in reciting, identification, and counting and writing, then exploration becomes very, very funny, and it's a very fun making activity for the child along with teachers and parents. So what we need to give importance as far as the exploration is concerned. By this time, child must be exploring between a set of numbers, which one is greater, which is equal, and which is lesser. So greater than, equal to, and less than. This concept or this exploration becomes very, very strong by this time when the child is in UKG. Then forward and backward counting, because anything is becoming a kind of exploration. Anything given, if we ask the child to count backward, child must be able to count it backward. If the child is asked to count it forward, then child will be counting forward, and this is called exploration skills. Then writing random numbers when asked for. So if the child is really good in numbers and understanding becomes very easy in terms of recitation and identification, child should able to write a given number when asked for. If we ask child to write 155, child must able to write 155. But important thing here is that the minimum requirement is that to write a number when asked for is up to 100. If up to 100 child is absolutely comfortable, then we can increase this number up to 200. But let's concentrate if the child is absolutely fine writing a number up to 100 when asked for. Example, if I ask a child to write 89, child should be able to write 89 absolutely without any problem. And simultaneously also you can ask the child, when the child is almost finishing the UKG class, child should be able to write the word, the number in both in number as well as in word. If child is able to do both these things, then nothing like that child's cognitive skill will be fantastic. Then picking up again number of objects up to 100 from a stack of objects. I can give a heap of objects and quite number of objects, and I can ask the child just pick up 63 ice cream sticks from this stack of ice cream sticks. Let the child count and pick up exactly 63. Let's see that whether child is able to pick up exactly 63 or child is fumbling in doing that. So this is a exploration. Child will be exploring from the, and this is a kind of problem solving skill. And one thing is very, very common. If the child is very good in RIC, then exploration things will be very good. I am repeating that. Then addition and subtraction of numbers will start from here. So this is a exploratory things, and the addition and subtraction can happen through numbers, and simultaneously we can add the number scale and also the ones and tens kind of scale, which is a part of this can be introduced so that child's exploration skill can be better off. So I'm sure this RISE technique is really a great technique for the teachers and parents to keep it in mind. And based on these 4 classes, they should know that what the number should be taken for a particular class, and we can keep working with our child. It's not only just recitation and just writing. It is a lot of things are dependent on the counting and writing and exploration, which in fact will lead to development of the cognitive skill of the child. So this is what we at Adiuvaret Kids are trying to bring and make things quite easy and effective for the teachers and parents. And thank you so much for your patient hearing. And if you have any further queries, if you have anything to add, or if you want to further improve this kind of technique or easy method, then you are most welcome to share your suggestions to us, and we'll be definitely including them in our endeavor of supporting various schools across India and outside to make an effort to increase the skill of children to make them fantastic persons in future. So we are closing this session here, and we'll come back with another session of interest for parents and teacher. Up to then, thank you so much.